prophet said, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me, right? Basically what he's saying is he's saying I'm walking, right? And goodness is following me. Goodness is following me. The goodness of God is following me all the days of my life, right? It's following me. It's on my tail, right? But here's the problem. The goodness of God's not showing up in your life. You know why? Because you're busy chasing the wrong things. We so busy running after stuff that is not God. And before you know it, goodness can't catch up to us. We chasing after stuff. We chasing after money. We chasing after jobs. We chasing after people. We chasing after everything but God. And goodness can't come up with us. We wonder why we negative. It's because we chasing after negative people. We chasing after negative thoughts. And before you know, we feel broken inside. It's because of the fact that goodness, his goodness can't catch up to us because we busy running after a bunch of stuff that don't glorify him. I probably shouldn't do this too many times. And these 54-year-old knees, whew, they eventually get the best of me. And so he understood that. And so he says, I just want you to experience God's goodness. I want you to experience his goodness. I want it to be able to catch up to you so that you back on your life and say, I have tasted and I've seen the goodness of God, right? So it's really simple. You want to experience God's goodness? That was the title. How do you experience God's goodness? You do two things. Very first thing, it says you taste and you see, right? Taste and you see. Taste and you see. Taste and you see. Remember that, okay? Now I'm going to break it down just a little bit, right? So it says, first thing, you have to taste, right? How do you taste? How do we taste? Come on now. With your mouth? Got to eat it? Most people think that. Most people think that you got to eat it, that you got to eat it in order to taste it. The reality of it is that I asked that question someone else, and they said the same thing, right? There's this deal, another sermon that I'm going to have to preach in a couple of days. God had me studying on sommeliers, right? You know, sommeliers, the wine connoisseurs. Yes. The one thing about them is, right, those guys, they are so good that they literally put the wine in their mouth and it swirls around and they don't even drink it, but they can tell you the year that it came from. They can tell you the farm, the vineyard that it came from. They can tell you the type of grape. It was early season, late season. They can tell you all this, right? Because they've tasted and they saw, right? They've tasted. They didn't have to eat it, but they tasted. They tasted it. And before you know it, that taste became a part of them. Look, I had this whole thing pointed out where I was going to show you these pictures, and I was going to tell you that Ken's honey mustard is the best thing in the world. Man, I tell you, Ken's honey mustard, the best thing in the world. You haven't tried, you might want to try it, right? I had these pictures of these other three. They on my iPad because I was going to add them in the graphic, but then I did the graphic, didn't have a chance to, right? Because I want you to really understand this, right? So what's really cool about Ken's is that it's so good to me that I put it on everything. I put it on everything, right? It has a unique taste, right? And what I know about it is that the taste is so unique that I can tell the difference between Popeye's honey mustard and Hidden Valley Ranches and what's that other one? There's a couple of them out there, right? They all got their own honey mustard, but the taste is so distinct that you can tell that this is Ken's honey mustard. Why? I taste it and I can see and I know that is God's honey mustard. That's what I'm referring to it as, God's honey mustard, because it's Ken's and it's good, okay? And so really what I need you to understand about this tasting experience, right? In a taste test, you can tell the difference. Think about that thing that you love. In a taste test, you can tell the difference, can't you? Look, we were buying ketchup the other day, and I said, one thing, I'm going to skip some spots. I ain't going to skip on ketchup. I just can't do it. I can't skip on peanut butter because you can just taste the difference, right? You sit back and there's something that you eat that you love, right? And you can eat it and you just know that's that, right? Right? Huh? Everybody? That's good, right? And so what happens is, I want to tell you this point here. Your consumption determines your taste, but your consumption also develops your taste. So it determines your taste, but it also develops your taste, right? So I want you to think about what you've eaten. Hey, that's going to be up there for a minute, right? And so what that means is that we're going to talk about this thing called an acquired taste. Anybody know what that means? It means that I tasted it once before, didn't really like it. I don't even like mustard. That's the funny part. I don't even like mustard, right? But I love honey mustard. First time I taste it, I'm like, no, that ain't good. You ever go out to eat with me, be like, hey, can I have a side of honey? Man, you eating pizza. Man, you eating fish. Why you ain't got no tartar sauce? Man, I want some honey mustard to go with it, right? Because I have this acquired taste. This acquired taste. It says that I tried it at first, and I didn't like it at first. And then my mind's like, you don't like this, but I'm going to try it again. I tried it again. I'm like, that ain't bad. Then another time I tried another one. I'm like, that's pretty good. Tried again, and I'm loving this stuff. Because that's how an acquired taste comes about. And so I acquired this taste, and before you know it, I put it on everything. And so my consumption determined my taste. David understood more than anything that he spent time consuming God's presence, and it developed a taste for God, right? He said, if I continue to consume his presence, I am going to develop a taste for God. So when you want to experience God's goodness, you have to develop a taste for God, which means that you have to acquire that taste. David said, I spent time in his presence and in my good times. I spent time in my bad times. I spent time when I was on the backside of the mountain. I spent time when I was fleeing. I've acquired a taste for God, right? And he says the same thing for us. He wants us to have an acquired taste. You want to experience God's goodness, you have to have an acquired taste for him. An acquired taste for him. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. But I also said that your taste dictates your consumption, right? Man, I tell you, God was just working on me with this one, right? He was just working on me. Y'all just heard me talk about Ken's mustard, right? Remember how I love Ken's mustard. No matter where I go, I'm talking about Ken's mustard. I'm going to a restaurant, I'm talking about Ken's mustard. I'm at the house, I'm talking about Ken's mustard, right? Because that's what I'm doing, right? But my taste, my consumption develops my taste, right? So the more I've consumed it, the more my taste developed, right? So my question for you is, what's that thing that you're consuming so much of that now you developed a taste for it? What's that thing that you're consuming so much that you have a taste for it? Because now it started out as, no, I ain't going to do it. No, I know that ain't right. I know it doesn't line up with the will of God. My mama and them told me not to do that. They told me to leave that man alone. They told me I shouldn't have taken that job, but I'm still running after it. They told me not to keep spending all my money buying these expensive shoes or buying them expensive cars because I couldn't afford it. But yet and still, your taste, you consumed it, and now you have a taste for it. And now, anytime you go, you want to put it on everything. What is it that you're consuming? Last point on this taste is, go ahead, Cody. So what's that taste in your mouth? And does it taste like God's goodness? Point number 2. That says really simple. It says taste and see. Come on, Cody. Hang with me. Hang with me. Taste and see. There you go. Taste and see. Taste. Stevie Wonder got eyes. Can he see? Stevie Wonder got eyes. Can he see? In the middle of the night, when you're walking outside in the dark, can you see? When the sun is glaring in your eyes, so in your face, so much that it's blinding you, can you see? No. Hey, really quick. Hey, check this out. Can you read that? Brother, read this to me. Can you just read that small part? How about right there? Okay, fight like a girl. It says fight like a girl, right? Hey, Mike, can you read this in the back? No, the reason you can't read it is not because you don't have eyes. You can't read it because you can't focus on it. You can't read it because you can't focus on it. It got nothing to do with your eyes. It's got to do with your focus. David said, taste and see. He said, I need you to consume and I need you to focus. 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 Look, you have to understand, look, we can't see because we can't focus. Yeah, look, this happens to everybody. Happens to everybody, right? Hey, roll that next point because I don't know what that next point is. Look, to see the goodness of God, you must focus. Focus means to center or to fix your attention on one thing. And what's that one thing? God. It's on God. We focusing on everything else but God. Everything else but God. It's all about focus. It's all about focus. And look, next point. Go ahead. Next point, because this is a good one. You cannot focus by focusing. I know somebody says that. Look, the brain has so many thoughts per minute that you can't just focus on one thing. I Googled it because I wanted to make sure that you cannot focus by focusing. I can't just think of that one thing and before you know it, my mind not get distracted. You ever notice when you're praying? You start praying, and before you know, look, for me, I don't know about you guys, but I'm praying to God, and Lord, I just want to thank you. And before you know, I'm telling the sermon, I'm preaching to myself, and I'm excited, right? That's exactly what happens, right? It starts out as a prayer. Before you know it, it turns into a sermon. Before you know it, I'm thinking about fun things that I shouldn't be thinking about. You ever notice when you're reading your Bible, you start out, you're reading it, it sounds really good, and before you know it, your mind starts to go someplace else. Before you know it, you're thinking about, man, what am I going to eat for dinner? What am I going to wear to work in the morning? You ever think about when you're studying, when you start out studying, right? And in the process of studying, you get regurgitating this information before you know it. I'm looking at my phone. Man, I'm at TikTok. Man. I'm looking at my phone. I'm thinking about everything else. Everything else but what I'm supposed to be fighting. I'll be thinking about, right? Look, my old pastor used to always say, forgive me for being personal. I'm going to be personal. I'll never forget this. I'm in a meeting, right? Lady's sitting there speaking. We're all sitting around a group, and she's sitting there, and the one thing happened to me, right? There was a painting above her head. She's talking and I'm listening. I'm supposed to be paying really good attention. She's talking and I'm listening, right? But next thing you know, I'm looking at the picture. And on the picture, I'm doing this. I'm outlining the characters. I'm outlining the screen. I'm thinking about why did the author choose this color? And how come it didn't, instead of swooping it this way, how come he didn't swoop it down and up a little bit further? And my mind was all over the board because my focus was off. I tried to I got distracted, and before you know it, and then I got distracted again, and I tried to focus, and I got distracted again because you can't focus by focusing. You can't focus by focusing. And so, look, let me tell you how you focus, okay? So as a kid, I was one of them self-diagnosed ADHD dudes, right? And so, they had medication back in my day. And so my mom used to make me run around the building. You're going to burn this energy off before you go to bed, right? And so whenever I'd have an issue with studying with school, because of my ADHD would kick in, she would do this thing. She would start cutting off some stuff, right? She would start cutting off some stuff. Before you know it, she's cutting off my friends. She's like, you ain't going to hang out with your friends today. No. You ain't going to be on that phone. You're not going to be playing in video games. Relax? Oh, no. Your relaxed time is now your study time. And so what happened was my mom said, I need you to focus on what it is that you're supposed to be focusing on, right? And when she realized that I couldn't focus, she started cutting off some things. So my next point is this, is to experience God's goodness, you must cut some things off. You got to cut some things off in your life. Because if you don't cut some things off in your life, what's going to happen is it's going to take your mind and drag you to places that you didn't even want to go. It's going to have you doing things and thinking about things that you shouldn't even been thinking about. And before you know it, you're going to find yourself frustrated. You're going to find yourself upset. You're going to find yourself, all your thoughts are going to be negative. And that's because of the fact that you're focusing on the wrong thing. So what I want to do is I want to give you a couple of things that you need to focus on or cut off. My first thought, my goodness, TV, the news. The news, my goodness, I'm watching the news. I'm hearing about polio coming back. I'm hearing about cancer coming back. I'm about the upflux in cancer, and I'm hearing about they bombing folk over in Ukraine. I was listening. They were talking last night. They were talking about Russia is trying to they trying to take over some of the plants in Germany, and Germany is fighting back. I'm sitting back, and folk are killing folk, and before you know it, that stuff, all that negativity, it